very warm welcome, and you are joining us for qualifying ahead of the final round of MotoGP eSport in 2022. It's round 5. It's the Global Series decider, double points on offer. You've heard it all, I'm sure, before, but it is a big one. And we're going to be qualifying first up at Argentina, the Termas Hondo circuit. Following that, you'll be able to check out on YouTube or MotoGP eSports' very own website, qualifying from the Mandalika circuit as well in Indonesia as we head there for the very first time. Jack Appiard and Jack Goss took you through these 15 minutes. Are we going to see something interesting? Let's hope so. Are we going to see something that could well affect the eventual location of our 2022 title? Let's see. Could it be this man, Andrea Severia? Who knows? I mean, we could go down...
Could be. We
could go down the list of everyone asking, could it be this man? And it will be the same answer every time of, maybe. Who knows? But
insightful stuff.
I know, that's why they pay me the big bucks, mate. That sort of analysis. You can't get that anywhere else. Here's Piero Ricciuti, the wild child, the factory Ducati man.
Went well last time out, didn't he?
He did.
Piero Ricciuti.
A pair of second places. Just started to find his feet. Not really someone that we're thinking is going to be right in the heart of this championship fight. He's going to need a pretty big final round. But of course, with double points, it can quite easily swing.
It certainly can, yeah. I mean, Piero at the minute, let's just tee it up for you how the championship sits before we set the grid for the first race of the final round of the Global Series here in 2022. So Adrian leads it with 93 points, and he's only 12.5 ahead of reigning champ Trastevere on the Yamaha. Of course, now 12.5 points. If Adrian was to finish second in the first race tomorrow and Trastevere was to win it, then that gap would come down to 2.5 points, because as we rightly pointed out, double points on offer, so it all kind of amplifies things a little bit here. So if you are Piero Ricciuti, the Ducati man, then, well, you are still in this very, very easily indeed, because he's only on 70 points, but 23 points back from the top. I mean, you know, if he goes and wins a couple of races and, say, Adrian finishes second and third in those races, then Piero would end up eventually with more points than Adrian. So it can very, very easily change once we start adding double points into the mix, just sprinkling on a little bit of spice for the finale here. So into the first laps then.
We do love a bit of spice as well,
we do. Esports is all about spice, really,
Mas picante, the better.
Mas picante. That is the way, really, in esport. Coming down then to the final sector just about now. Christian, of course, he's another man that was on form recently. Of course, in that third round, wasn't it, where he did the double?
It was, yeah, round 3, halfway, the halfway stage of this season.
Eyes on him this round anyway.
Jack Goss actually turned the aircon on in our studio here to record the commentary for the qualifying.
Stop waffling about the aircon. We've got a lap time here.
And it's cold as well. Oh, as Adrian comes across the line, and here we go. Laps are in. Sorry, you took my attention away. I was cold, you see. So Christian, first marker, 31.6, instantly bettered. Ricciuti goes top, 31.5. Vindex across line. Good lap from him.
Good lap.
Less than 2 tenths away in third. Doesn't look like Davide Galini, Spadalongo, Tatigo. We're not really expecting them to be challenging for pole position. Andrea Severi, however, could well do. Oh, but not
with
the
that
lap he was hoping for. Just under half a second adrift is the Suzuki man, so a lot to find for him. But after the first runs then, as Christian MM17 just crashes out in the background, it's Ricciuti, this man, that leads the way at 1:31.5. A tenth of a second exactly his advantage after these opening runs.
Yeah, not bad effort then from Piero. Of course, 1:31.5. That's pretty good. We've seen in free practice they're roughly around that sort of lap time. So there's not too much more to come, but we shall see what they can pull out in the last 10 minutes at least. Of course, Trastevere, the only one on the board at the moment without a lap time. He'll be very, very keen to change that. We've seen Trastevere have a couple of bad qualifying so far in 2022. And if he is to retain his title, 12.5 points behind the man that he needs to beat at the moment, then he's going to want to be on that front row at the very least.
And not putting a lap time on the board after the opening runs does put pressure on yourself.
It does.
The pressure really does start to build, because you know with the clock ticking, these guys likely during a qualifying session will get, what, 3 fast laps at it? Normally,
Roughly,
what we see, 3, sometimes 4 at the shorter circuits. So he knows next time around, if he's to make a slight mistake and go over track limits and the lap's cancelled, then everything comes down to that last lap then. And often we've seen previous, when that does happen, they almost just ride within themselves to make sure that they get a lap on the board, because the last thing they want to do is to be qualifying dead last, having not even set a lap time. So a big 10 minutes coming up for Trastevere here.
Yeah, definitely. 10 minutes that could prove pretty pivotal, of course. That first race tomorrow, when we go racing for the finale, you certainly can't win the championship in that one, but you can definitely lose it, so he does need to be careful, that is for sure. I have to say about Vindex, actually, because he's kind of really grown into the series, hasn't he? As we've gone. He's got better and better in qualifying. The races still aren't quite right up the sharp end, but he has got better. So certainly Vindex doing no harm to himself at all at the minute, third and on the end of that front row at the moment. That would be his best qualifying performance of the year. So if he can manage to pull that off, then a big round of applause to that man and a pat on the back.
Here is Trast then, back out on track with a new rubber fit to his Monster Energy Yamaha M1. And he just builds his way through the lap here. That a super important corner as they ask for traction, ask for the power down the monstrous back straight. This, of course, where Aleix Espargaro at the 3rd attempt was able to better Jorge Martin, and he's very deep there. It's a late apex, but I'm not sure you want to be running that deep. And then flick it left through turns 6 and 7. Again, just asking for traction on the side of the tyre for so much of the lap here. Very, very difficult to get it stopped there as well. But he does a good job. Brings it back to the apex again. Another double apex right-hander there. This very, very steep, actually, from having ran the circuit when we were there, feels like a lifetime ago in March. A real incline there as they go left and then right. And once again, one of the characteristics of Argentina, on the side of the tyre, asking. There is in real life a bit of a bump there as well, and we saw the Ducati guys, Pecco Bagnaia in particular, throughout free practice 3 and qualifying in the end as well, just struggling to get the thing settled through that bump. Trask comes across the line, and we said about putting down a marker, that's exactly what he's done. 5th for Trask, 4 tenths off. Not the best lap of his career, but good enough, something to build on.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I don't think he'll be entirely pleased, but something that does look a little more promising at the moment is these 2 red splits from Adrian, the man that leads the World Championship at the moment. Lost the crown last year to Trastevere, he did. And looking right now to go and plant himself on pole position, although he does have competition coming in behind in the shape of Piero Ricciuti and his brother Christian MM17 as well. He's gone orange through the 3rd split, personal best, and he's only 2 and a bit tenths off the top, so he's certainly not going to be too far off from improving and pinching a front row position from Vindex or possibly even his brother. Let's see what he can do coming across the line now. Adrian, the 2020 world champ, goes to 2nd, so certainly not bad. Was that 3 thousandths? Wow, that's pretty close. So certainly a very good last sector indeed then from Adrian.
I'm loving the tactics that these guys are using through the final corner. Absolutely.
Nail it.
0 attempt whatsoever to keep the thing inside track limits. We're on board here with Christian MM17. It's just flat chat, full gas to get to the start-finish line as much as possible. And it proved to be a useful tactic for Christian as he goes top of the pile.
So 34 hundredths of a second then, covering the front row at the minute. That really can't get too much closer, can it? So that's a pretty good effort then from those top 3. Trastevere still down there in 5th. Nothing going for him at the moment. We do have Andrea Severi, actually, one of the big hitters, of course. We haven't mentioned him too much, but he is 3rd in the championship at the moment. What is he? Only 13 points off the lead, so still very much in this. And he goes to 4th, so that's not too bad at all.
Look how tall that is.
Suzuki, man. What did he go off? Was it 1,000th behind Adrian? So now we've got 35 hundredths covering the top 4.
And 4 thousandths of a second, splitting the men 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Pretty close.
Yeah, very close. I was going to say, couldn't be closer, but I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
it could be 2 1,000ths of a second, but still very close regardless if we're not nitpicking. So 5 minutes to go then. Christian leading the way from Ricciuti and Adrian. Second row as things stand, Severi, Vindex and Trast. A good performance this by Vindex, we mentioned it earlier on, but despite another couple of laps coming in, it looks as though he's improved as well. 2 times the drift, good stuff from him. Jack Hammer 7th, he'll be disappointed with that, I think, hoping for a bit more ahead of Spadalongo, Davide Galini, Tatigo and Mr. TFTW. Everybody piling down pit lane then.
Yeah, I think we're about to get a final flurry.
I believe so.
I believe so. Couple of minutes here. Seems they're all just heading back to the pits. Maybe a couple of final small tweaks to the suspension. Of course, if you didn't know, you could do that in the MotoGP cane. You can. You can go in and edit your bike's settings to your heart's content. There's all sorts of stuff. Suspension settings, rake and trail.
Gearing.
You can change the gearing. You can change the size of the discs that you have on the front and the rear. So there's quite a lot that you can do in the game. It's very good indeed.
Yeah, plenty to be able to tweak around with, and these guys do that on a regular basis, as well as Trask just gets himself set and fires his way out to the final corner. Here we go then. Is this going to be Trask's final flying lap of the session? He may well get across the line for another one after this, but whether those tyres are going to offer enough grip for it to be a competitive lap, we'll have to wait and see. But a big lap regardless, though, for the 3-time champion. Back at the second row at the moment, chasing in the championship as well. He'll be hoping to be up onto the front row.
Nothing going so far.
No.
Gray through the first split for Trastevere, so that is not the plan that he wanted to put into action right now, but as Jack Riley says, he might well get time for another lap here, although what the eSport guys do tell us is that it's not necessarily that you can do a second lap on the tyres, it's maybe just the tyre temperature, and it gives away a little bit less feeling for them, so possibly he might not actually have enough time if he has to wait for those tyres to cool down to fly onto a second lap, but he's making it count now as he is on a PB through the second split.
I wouldn't say that it's going to be a super lap, this, given the fact that he was grey in the first sector and he's already nearly half a second adrift of Christian, so he really needed to be improving everywhere around the lap, and big improvements as well to find himself competing for that top 4, which, as we said, is super tight at the moment, but he's on course to post a better lap time. But is it going to be mistake? Well,
I wonder if he just bailed out of that entirely.
Straight into pit lane. But he's up against the clock now.
He is, yeah.
2 minutes 20, 2 minutes 15 left. An outlap is going to be what? 140 maybe, something like that.
Hopefully, yeah, something.
140, 145. So the clock is ticking for him to get back out on track. We can see Pitt at the moment.
Yeah.
Has he managed to get back out? We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, as you say, Ricciuti, red through that opening split. Out of turn 5, now flicks it left for turn 6. Back down to a improving lap time. But he can't be a million miles away here, Ricciuti. Back to Adrian. It looks as though third is going to be his best. Certainly not going to improve on... Oh, where did that
maybe
come
not.
from? Where did that come from? He was grey in sectors 1, 2 and 3, and that final split must have been absolutely sensational. Adrian, out of nowhere, takes provisional pole with just over a minute to go.
Incredible then, Adrian. Not too sure what he did in the final split. We picked him up very late, so we didn't really see it. But yeah, whatever he did, he pulled it out the hat there, didn't he? Christian, of course, let's keep an eye on this now because he's grey as well. But as we saw Adrian go and pull that out the bag there, we need to keep an eye on this right to the very flag now.
I'm going to stop myself from saying the same thing. Although I'm sure there'll be some Christian and LCR supporters bails out of it. Not going to be pole position, and that with 45 seconds remaining will be that second at best for Christian MM17. Adrian, as you can see, the red exclamation mark next to his name has gone over track limit, so that 1:31.499 is the lap time to beat with now 30 seconds left.
Just keeping an eye on Trastevere's name to see if he does come flying through the first split or not. There's only 20 seconds left on the clock. So certainly needs to be close as we see Piero going red and now Andrea Severi going red. So here we go. This really is a last gasp attempt coming in from both the factory Suzuki and Ducati. Piero's gone down. That's a shame. Huge shame, but we'll stay on board then with Andrea Severi. We know they've been using this slingshot line to the line. What can he do? And he crashes the loss of line, but does improve, but not his position. Fourth on the grid, head of the second row. That's not so bad for Andrea then.
Trask crashes as well, so it's going to be the second row for him. Vindex, 3 grey splits, comes across the line. He will stay 5th, so we're just waiting on who? Davide Galigna? Yeah, Davide Galigna and Mr. T. So, I mean, you would have to say it looks as though it's going to be 6th spot for Trastevere then. With the checkered flag now out. Let's see, Davide Galigna.
Yeah,
can we see him on track?
2 PBs here.
Yeah. I mean, Galigna would be a turn up for the Bucks if he's to fire himself up onto that second row of the grid.
Yep. Does only need to find 2 attempts to get onto that second row, so we'll see what he can do. Unfortunately, we're not seeing him, but we're keeping our eyes on the timing tower there on the left, and it is another PB through the 3rd sector. So we'll just see. Is that him coming down now? We can actually see him now coming down into the penultimate corner. Of course, a very tricky one on the front end. Diving through on the Aprilia. Is he going to come across the line to improve?
Oh, this is going to be...
He does! Oh, wow! On to second row.
Oh, wow, 6. Where did that come from? Wow, what a lap.
Does that mean Trastevere is onto the 3rd row?
He is 7th on the grid for the 3-time world champion. What a disaster for Trastevere. Meanwhile, all going to plan so far for our championship leader. Looking to reclaim the title that he lost last year. Adrian will start pole ahead of his brother Christian and Piero Ricciuti. Row 2 of the grid, Andrea Severi, good performance by Vindex and Davide Galigna, that late lap bumping him to 6th. Trast has a mountain to climb, starting 7th ahead of Jack Hammer, Spadalongo, and the final row of the grid, Tatigo and Mr. T.